back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I thank you for your love and for your support. Okay, guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut this type of princess dart bust here, so you can see the picture. Take a close look at it. You can see it looks like it looks like a shoulder dart princess dart, and then it also looks like an armhole princess dart, so you can see it's like in between. So and I wanted to do this video, so I decided to do it in one piece. That's so to carry everyone along, those people that like pattern and then those people that like freehand. So I'm going to be showing you how to cut it in two ways. We're going to be making use of the pattern, and then I'm going to be making use of a freehand directly on the fabric. So with that, I'll be able to carry everyone along. Okay, so the measurement that I'm going to be making use of today, these are the measurements. So you can zoom in and then see. So this is the bust measurement. The bust I'm making use of is 34. So for beginners that actually don't know, you divide into 4, and then I'm going to have 8.5. And then the under bust is 28. You divide into 4, I'm going to have 7. So the waist is 32. You divide into 4, I'm going to have 8 inches. And then the bust point, that's from the shoulder to your nipple point, is 10. And then the under bust, from your shoulder to your under bust, is 13.5. So these are the measurements that I'm going to be making use of. So now let's get started. If you are new to the channel, you are highly very welcome. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Hit on the bell on the side also to get an update whenever I upload a new video. Okay, guys, so now let's get started. You can follow me on all of my social media platforms: Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. And then you can also if you want to register for our online classes, please send me a message on WhatsApp. You can see my number scrolling through the screen, and all of my social media handles are Stylish Naija. Okay, so now let's continue. Yeah, so I have my patterns here, one for the front and one for the back. So I already have my lines here, which I'm going to explain quickly. So the first line I have here is the shoulder. So that's just like the startup line. And then the next line we have is the bust line, which is the nipple point, like I explained, which is 10 inches from your shoulder. It's 10 inches. That's our bust point. And then the other line is our under bust, like I explained, 13.5 under bust. And then the third line that I have here is the waist measurement. So from the shoulder to the waist is 18 inches. I forgot to write that. So this is the waist. So these are the measurements that we're going to be making use of. It is a very simple process, a simple way. I always say that in all of my videos. And yeah, if you have been following me, you know that my tutorials are quite easy. I try as much as I can to make them easy for you to understand. I don't like complicated sewing. Yeah. Okay, so the shoulder measurement that we're going to be making use of is 14 inches. So this is 14 inches. I'll just mark. So for those people that are using pattern, I'll mark my 7 inches here like this. And then I'll add half of an inch to it for stitching allowance. You can add 1 inch. And then from this point, I'm going to come down on this point. So I'll come down by half of an inch, and I'm going to slope that into my neckline area. You can use 1 inch also. It still works fine. And then from this point, I'm going to mark my armhole. So the armhole that I'm making use of 7.5, which is 15 inches round. I'll mark it like this. And then I will go ahead and do this. And then I'm going to leave it this way. I'm not going to mark that armhole. So the next thing I'm going to mark now is our bust span. That's from one nipple to another. That we're going to be making use of our bust span measurement, which is, some people call it nipple to nipple, but professionally it is called a bust span. So I'm going to use 4.5. It is actually 9 inches. You divide into 2. I have 9 inches. I'll mark it like this. I'll mark the 4.5, and then I'll come to this line also. I'll repeat it, and then I'll join it with a straight line. Okay, now so we are done with that. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to take out our darts. Okay, if it is the normal regular armhole princess dart, all you are going to do is divide what you have here from your armhole into two, and then from there you just take your curve. And then if it is a shoulder dart, you measure your shoulder. I have those videos on my channel. You measure your shoulder and then you take your cut from the shoulder. But if you notice, it is like in between. So for this, we're not going to be taking half of our measurement. So you see what we have here. We have 7.5. On the normal day, we're supposed to take out 3.5. But this, you are just going to go ahead and drop your shoulder by 2 inches or 2.5 inches for this pattern. So because of stitching, I would advise for us to drop it with 2.5 inches. If not, you can actually drop with 2 inches, but we'll use 2.5 inches. So when we stitch, it returns back to 2.5. So this is where we're going to start to create our style line out from. So we're just going to leave that there. So I'll mark my armhole now. I'll just create my armhole curve. So that's where we're going from. And then for the dart, I'm going to use 2.5 inches because all of my data I'm taking them to one side, so I'll use 2.5. So this 2.5 is ideal for from size 10 upward. You can use 2 inches also, but if you want the cups, if you notice from the picture, it came out properly, so 2.5 is just like ideal. So this 2.5, what I'm going to do now, create a curve to those points like this. So in order for me to be able to define this point, I'm just going to take 1 inch upward like this. I'll mark 1 inch upward and then mark 1 inch downwards. So you can see when I made the curve, it actually ends there. So you take it upward and then you extend this line upward. So the essence is so you'll be able to create a nice curve. It's not like it is anything, that's just that. And then from this point, I'm going to just use dotted lines to indicate it for you first before we blend. So you can see how beautiful it is looking already. And then you mark this one to those points. And then from those points, you are going to come down. So most times what I normally do for my waist, I usually don't like taking what I took from the under bust. I don't like taking the same measurement. So I usually like reducing it. This kind of gives it a very good form, that it forms properly. So I'll mark 2 inches on the down part. And then from this point, I'll just use dotted lines to indicate it like this for you. So I hope you can see what we have. And then the next thing now is for us to take our full body measurement, just like I explained. The the bust measurement is 8.5, just like I explained. I'll mark the 8.5 here, and then I'll come to this side. I'll add my allowance. You can add any allowance of your choice. I'll add my allowance, and then the under bust is 7. I'll come to this point like this. This is 7 inches. Remember the 2.5 we took out. You bring it back into your pattern like this, and then you add your stitching allowance also. So those stitching allowance, I'm just using dotted lines. I'll blend all together. And then the waist measurement, we're using 8 inches like explained. And then you mark the 8 inches here. And then remember on this down part, we actually took out 2 inches. Just bring it back into your pattern. And then you add your stitching allowance. So I'll go ahead now. All of these lines, I'll blend them together with my ruler. Okay guys, so you can see what we have. It looks really beautiful. So for the neckline, you can actually add any neckline of your choice. So from the original picture, what we have is actually a V neckline. So I'm just going to mark it like this. I'll use 3.5 for the wide, that's the width. And then for the depth, I'm just going to use 7 inches. You mark it this way and then you give it a good blend. If you don't want a sharp V, you can, if you don't want a sharp V, you can actually curve it a little bit towards the down part like this. So you can see what we have. So it looks beautiful. So the next thing now, I'm going to place this on my back pattern and then I will mark it out before showing you how to cut the back. Okay, so remember, before you cut this out, you are going to add an extra 2 inches to your pattern, or 1.5 inches. You add it into your front armhole pattern. The reason why you do this is so when you stitch, it does not get truncated. So, and then the next thing you are going to do, once you extend the line, all you are just going to do is you blend this part. So this will give you a new curve for your armhole. So you need the curve both for the back and for the front. So after marking it like this, so for the back pattern, we're just going to repeat what we did here. So you can just eyeball it like this, so you can see it actually came out already. And then from this point, you mark it into your dart areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark my dart and then curve it out nicely. So you can see this is how the back pattern looks like. So when stitching, you're just going to make sure that this part, it is not very curved. So when you're cutting it out, so this is for our back pattern, and then this is for our front pattern. Okay, so we're done. So you can see our front pattern. So the next thing now, we're going to use a freehand to cut this. It's just the same process, and then you'll see how easy it is. Okay, so all of my freehand people, now let's go. So you can see the lines here. So this is the bust nipple point, which is the bust point, and then this is the under bust, and then our full length. So the same thing we did, you can see it is a simple process, like I always say. So you mark your 7 inches here, and then I'll mark my add the stitching allowance on the side. So from this point now, you will come and then you measure your armhole, and then you mark it like this, and then you create your armhole curve like this. Just create your armhole curve, blend it into that point like that. And then for your shoulder slope, you use half of an inch, just blend it into the neckline, just like I explained. And then the next thing, now we're going to take out our dart, you see. So the same dart of 4.5, the allowance is already added. So that 4.5 is ID. Just mark it just the same way we did across, and then you connect it with your ruler. You see it. So after connecting with your ruler, the next thing now we're going to do the same thing we did. So we're going to come up by 1 inch and then go down by 1 inch to give us a very perfect curve. So you extend it that way, and then bring this one to this point like this. So from this point now, you mark the 2.5 inches that we're using for our to create our curve. So from this point now, you're going to create it like this nicely into that point like this. And then, so remember what we used before when we used 2.5. So you mark the 2.5 here, and then from this point you just create, it is not a straight line, you understand. You can see, you can just you create it and then give it a very good, you can use your pattern curve, but since we're using a free hand, and then mark it to this point like that. So I just want to double check, and then on the down part, I'll mark my 2 inches, and then I'll mark it like this down, so you can see how beautiful it is looking. And then for the neckline, the same process, just add your neckline, and then we'll take out our full body measurement. The first one, which is 8.5, yeah, you mark it here. You can mark it here also, and then you add your allowance here. So from this point you come like this, and then you mark it to that point, and then the under bust, I'm using 7 inches, you come like this, you mark the 7 inches, and then remember the 2.5, add it back, and then you add your stitching allowance like this, and then you connect the two lines together like this. And then the waist one also, you come like we're using 8 inches. This is the 8, and then stitching allowance, and then you curve it like this. Okay guys, so you can see how beautiful she's looking. So we're going to go ahead and then we'll cut it out. We have our pattern ready. So this is how you cut when you're cutting fabric. Remember our extension. I almost forgot that. Please don't forget it, or else if you forget it, to truncate your pattern. So always make sure you add it. Okay guys, so you can see what we have, how beautiful it is looking. Yeah, and then you can see our pattern. So I just want you to compare. You can see that both of them are the same. For those of you that don't like making use of pattern, you can see that they are the same. So this one I need to trim it so you can see it properly. You can see that what we did with a pattern and then what we did with freehand are the same. So that is how easy it is to cut with a freehand and then cut with a pattern. So thank you so much. If you find this video helpful, please, I would appreciate if you hit on the like button. If you have not subscribed to Stylish Naija YouTube channel, to my channel already, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video.